All right, if you're in tech, you know this feeling. The pressure is just relentless, right? Ship faster, innovate more, beat the competition. But what happens when all that ambition just slams head-on into reality? You know, the talent shortage, a team that's stretched to its absolute limit? Well, it creates this massive bottleneck, and that's something we really need to talk about.
83%. Just let that number sink in for a second. This isn't just some random statistic we pulled out of thin air. No, this represents a crisis that's been hiding in plain sight across the entire tech industry.
Yeah, that's right. A staggering 83% of software developers say they're suffering from burnout. And look, this isn't just a personal problem, someone feeling a little overworked. It's a systemic failure. It's an epidemic that creates what's being called the velocity bottleneck. It's that exact choke point where all your great ideas and ambitious roadmaps just grind to a halt.
So, that leads us to the fundamental question, doesn't it? How do you scale your team? How do you grow your capacity, ship products faster, and actually hit your goals without completely breaking the very people you're relying on to build the future? I mean, there has to be a better way.
Okay, so to find that better way, first we've got to dissect why the old way is so broken. Let's break down what's called the burnout equation. These are all the hidden factors that make hiring the conventional way so slow, so expensive, and honestly, just incredibly risky in today's market.
So, the first piece of this puzzle is cost. We tend to think of what a developer costs as, well, just their salary. But that's incredibly misleading. The true cost is so much higher. It's loaded with all these hidden expenses that just fuel a company's burn rate, and often nobody even notices until it's way too late.
In fact, get this. When you actually add it all up, salary, benefits, all those recruiting fees, the HR overhead, equipment, the true first-year cost of just one in-house developer can be as high as $248,000. That is a total budget buster, and a lot of companies underestimate it by as much as 70%.
And, it's not just the direct financial hit. There's the staggering cost of time. The median time to hire? 41 days. For the slowest 10% of hires, that number jumps to 82 days. And even after all that, a senior dev can take a full 6 months to ramp up and be truly productive. Think about that. That's a huge amount of time and money spent before you see any real ROI.
And as one CFO put it, and this just nails it, the real ROI killer is the hidden cost of delay. I mean, think about it. Every single month you spend recruiting, that's a month of market opportunity that's just gone. It's a month your competitors are shipping features and grabbing market share you could have had.
Okay, so if the old model is so clearly broken, what's the alternative? Well, there's a new model being proposed that's designed to break this exact bottleneck. It's called the Remote Task Force.
So what is a remote task force? Well, it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's a ready-made, on-demand, elite development team that you can deploy to your project without hiring a single employee. You can think of it like a special ops team, but for software. No hiring process, no HR headaches. You just get immediate access to the A-team you need to get the job done.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. Isn't this just outsourcing? And that's a fair question, but there's a really critical difference here. Traditional outsourcing is often kind of passive, right? You bill for hours, the team is siloed away, you give them tasks, they give you back code. This model is about a strategic partnership. It's about delivering outcomes. The team is integrated with yours, they're proactive, they're not just there to bill hours. So the advantages here directly solve all those problems we just talked about. You get instant capacity. We're talking teams in days, not months. There's zero recruiting overhead. You need specialized skills, you can get them on demand. And it's totally flexible and scalable. But maybe most importantly, it's about outcome-focused ownership. They're not just a vendor, they're a partner. All right, that all sounds great in theory, but the real question is, does it actually work in practice? Let's take a look at a couple of real-world examples to see how this model actually delivers when the rubber meets the road. Okay, so here's a classic challenge. Picture this. A startup needs to launch a functioning MVP in 30 days. And, oh yeah, they have no engineering team. An impossible situation if you're trying to hire the old-fashioned way, right? But check out this quote from the founder and CEO. I went from concept to a functioning MVP in a month. It's like I fast-forwarded through 6 months of tinkering.
I mean, wow. That's the kind of speed that completely changes the game. That's how you fast forward past 6 months of pain.
All right, let's look at another challenge. This one's super common. You've got a fintech company, they want to add a really complex Gen AI feature, but their internal team is already completely at capacity. They're swamped. Hiring for those specialized skills would take months. Months they just don't have.
And the CTO's take on it?
The Sitka task force was a revelation. No way could I have assembled a comparable in-house team in the time frame we needed. So think about that. They got the specialized AI experts they needed basically overnight. They built the feature, and, this is key, they did it without derailing their own team from the core roadmap. That is a massive strategic win.
So these examples really show the power of this approach. Let's get to the bottom line here. Let's do a direct side-by-side comparison to really hammer home the strategic and financial difference.
Okay, let's put these two models head to head. Factor 1, time to assemble. In-house, you're looking at 2 to 6 months. With a remote task force, 48 hours to maybe 2 weeks. Huge difference. Next, upfront cost. For an in-house hire, you could be paying $30,000, even $60,000 or more in fees before they write a single line of code. With a task force, zero. How about flexibility? To scale down in-house, that usually means layoffs. It's painful. With a task force, you just scale up or down month to month. And finally, attrition risk. If a key person on your in-house team quits, your project can stall for months. With a task force, that risk is managed for you with an instant backfill. It's a no-brainer.
So when you boil it all down, what we're really talking about here is a strategic shift. It's moving away from a high-risk, fixed-cost model, where you're locked into these big salaries and long timelines, and you're moving to a low-risk, variable-cost model. You pay for outcomes, and you can adapt on the fly. It's just a smarter, more agile way to build things.
So, that leaves us with one final question to think about. If you could add a specialized dev team tomorrow, with literally none of the hiring drag, none of the headaches, what's that one impossible project you would finally tackle?